Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go. But I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to a special Thursday AM edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss, here with Russell Dobular.
Hello.
It is before sunrise over on the West Coast, as you can see, that pitch black sky
sun will
out the
be
window.
rising
Yes.
during this show. Yeah.
The sun will be coming out during the show. Russell up early over on the West Coast because it's an off day at the Jimmy Dore Show, which means it is an on day here at our program. I want to thank you guys all for being here. Like we said in the last episode, because Russ is going to be filling in for Jimmy through like the first week and a half of February and then possibly going back from time to time, we are going to shift our schedule from Wednesday, Friday to Tuesday, Thursday. So we'll probably keep that Tuesday night show at a 9 p.m. time slot and then make Thursday our morning due day. So we will move the schedule sort of up a day. This way, when we add our fourth stream, that'll have to be out of the way of the Jimmy Show as well. But the streams will get a little bit shorter when we add a fourth stream. So that's why we could start at 9 p.m. and then we'll put one in midweek when we are off of the Jimmy Dore schedule. But thank you guys all very much for being here. We do need your help juicing this algorithm today because it is a morning show and it's not our typical time slot. So we need to kick it old school and work that algorithm. So hit that like button, please, everybody, and flood that chat. Same thing over on Rumble. Got a great crowd to start, 415, now 424 on YouTube, 235 strong to start the day over on Rumble. So we thank you all for being here. We will be doing the final two segments of today's show over on the Rumble platform. Just because the Scientologists were very, very sly and they put copyrighted music that we are allowed to use on YouTube, but we would get the whole stream demonetized, and we can't afford that because this is a day show. So, you know, yep. I'm missing Uber Eats deliveries to be here. So we got to do that one.
There are people saying, where's my bacon, egg, and cheese?
Yeah, exactly. Where's it?
Where's that guy with the beard and the glasses who brings my breakfast?
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing that one over on Rumble, and then we're going to do what we'll call segment X over on Rumble as well. So we have segment X and Russell's LA travel diaries over on Rumble. So we'll be switching about 3/4 of the way through. So not quite yet. We got plenty of time here on both platforms, but eventually we will ask you guys to make that switch. You can go to dudissidents.com/Rumble. Shout out to our producer, Jake. This will take you directly to the stream. Our friend Jake knows how to do a redirect link. So if you put in dudissidents.com/Rumble, it'll take you right to our current stream over there. How do you like that? Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. So we got some stuff to take care of this morning. We do have Stella Assange coming over to the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow. That will be a great show. We are that's kind of high pressure. I mean, she's only got a month left before those hearings. Those hearings are February 20th and 21st. And so we wanted to talk to her and give her the biggest platform we could. And obviously the Jimmy platform is far bigger than ours. So we're going to interview her over there. Seems like the right thing to do.
I thought we were gonna rank Bond films with her.
Yeah, right.
Her favorite Bond films. That's not what we're going to talk about.
Well, you're the boss. I don't know. You're going to have to clear that.
I mean, I've heard she's a Goldfinger person. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, exactly. We will see. Time will tell. Hit that like button, folks. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that follow button. Let's get right into things, shall we? We did a big segment on the Jimmy Dore Show yesterday about DEI. Turns out Bill Ackman, the man who turned on DEI, has a new favorite in the presidential race, and it's not who you expect. It's actually a guy who you probably forgot even existed. That's right, Dean Phillips. Bill Ackman, a $1 million gift, and a website tweak, a write-up from the New York Times. So yes, Bill Ackman, the guy who famously is, on a rampage to fire everyone at a college campus who doesn't allow for free political speech, he has a new favorite in the presidential race. He gave $1 million to Biden Democratic challenger Dean Phillips. New York Times writes, the campaign website for Representative Dean Phillips, the Minnesota Democrat mounting a long-shot primary challenge to President Biden, has a policy platform that signals liberal bona fides tempered by a Midwestern businessman's practicality. It includes headers like climate action, women's health and economic security, and immigration reform. How novel. Haven't seen those on any campaign websites ever. This guy's really breaking new ground. Sometimes, it takes that Midwestern businessman ethic, to introduce a new idea like immigration reform. Sometime on Tuesday, one header was changed. Gone was diversity, equity, and inclusion. In its place, equity and restorative justice.
Which frankly is coming out of the same school of thought. Like, it's really not even a change on its own terms.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's basically the same set of concepts, just with slightly different emphasis and wording.
So as to less offend the billionaire who just gave you $1 million, would be my guess.
While at the same time trying to claim independence, because he can almost legitimately claim he didn't change anything, because according to the article, the text is the same.
The text is just it's the headline. Yeah,
they just changed the headline.
The text beneath the header, including acknowledgments of racial disparities and vague promises to ensure equal opportunity, was untouched. But the tweak was nonetheless significant. Even more so was its timing. On Saturday, Mr. Phillips had received the endorsement of William A. Ackman, the billionaire investor who in recent months has become an outspoken critic of so-called DEI programs in higher education. Mr. Ackman did not merely endorse Mr. Phillips. In a lengthy post on X on Saturday, where Mr. Ackman has a considerable following, he said that he had already given the maximum $3,300 donation allowed to Mr. Phillips' campaign, and he announced that on Tuesday, after the federal holiday for Martin Luther King's birthday, he planned to wire $1 million to We Deserve Better, a super PAC formed late last year that is supporting Mr. Phillips' candidacy. Mr. Ackman's online endorsement drew responses from a number of ex-users who noted the DEI language on Mr. Phillips' campaign platform. In a response to one post Tuesday morning, Mr. Ackman addressed them, saying that Mr. Phillips, quote, didn't understand DEI until recently. He added, I expect that statement will be revised promptly. By Tuesday night, it had been. So the New York Times references one tweet.
Don't you realize DEI means mediocre white men can't run for president anymore?
You're right. Yeah, exactly. If he really absorbed it, maybe he'd get that message. But the New York Times just outlined that one tweet. Here's another tweet that's sort of equally suspicious, and this comes up later in this segment as well. Bill Ackman also tweets out, I believe Dean Phillips didn't understand what DEI was when that was made part of his website. I made the same mistake. He is getting educated as we speak. Let's listen to what he has to say after he gets educated. The education in the form of $1 million wiring. That's a good education. I wish I had an education like that. Maybe I'd be less bitter about academia if they gave me $1 million.
Well, maybe you wouldn't be driving pizzas around.
That too. Probably wouldn't be doing this show either.
Probably not. Who needs the headaches?
Who needs the headache?
I call Keaton at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, somewhere there's a woman who just realized she likes real men and she got unlived.
Yeah,
Let's do it as a segment.
Let's do it. That's the danger of the DEI movement. It comes inside a Trojan horse of constructed of beneficent sounding words. He was either tired or drunk when he wrote that.
I did not realize that DEI meant when my favorite settler colonial project decided to commit a genocide against a bunch of brown people, they wouldn't be on my side.
Right, and that people would be allowed to oppose that. I didn't realize DEI.
I didn't know that's what would come with it. I thought we were just talking about a few superficial board seats going to people of color.
Right, exactly. In an interview Wednesday, Mr. Ackman provided some additional backstory. He said that over the weekend, he had sent Mr. Phillips a handful of articles, including a column in the New York Times that sought to distinguish what Ackman called the DEI movement from the principles of diversity and inclusion that Mr. Ackman said he believes in, and which the congressman also supported. Included in that email is also a screenshot of the Western Union receipt where the $1 million donation was made into his campaign account.
Well, you just look at this, and Bill Ackman is like the Big Lebowski, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like this you're just so fucking rich that you can afford to just buy yourself a meaningless presidential candidate whose race is going to make absolutely no impact, just as a toy. It's just a toy. I can't believe Ackman would be, under any illusion that this candidacy is going anywhere. He just feels like buying a candidate.
Yeah, exactly. This is like, why settle for a measly 20 G's when we can keep the entire million? Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
It's like he saw a candidate in the window at Sharper Image and he bought it.
See what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
But Mr. Ackman rejected any suggestion that his hefty financial contribution had played any role in the tweak of Mr. Phillips' campaign platform, which Politico reported on Tuesday. I am not paying him money to change his website, Mr. Ackman said in response to a question about the timing of the wording change. He noted that the major contribution had been to a super PAC, which is legally separate from the campaign. I am backing the guy because I believe he could be a great president. All right, so you want to watch some awkward video, folks. Dean Phillips was asked about this whole episode on CNN, and you see for yourself if you believe his explanation.
I have a question that I have to get in, and we have limited time, and it would be a miscarriage if I don't get this in, because you've gotten a lot of attention for, as you mentioned, race there. The DEI language on your website has changed. This is obviously an issue you're dealing with as well. Politico highlighted this in a new report. You changed the DEI drop down to, quote, equity and restorative justice. Why did you do that? And can you explain the difference between these two things?
Of course, absolutely. First of all, we didn't change the language. We did change the drop down, and I'll tell you why. Because I believe in diversity, I believe in equity, I believe in inclusion. But what has inclusion done for the black community in this country? What have both parties done to close the racial wealth gap? I want to take it a step further. I made that change to restorative justice. By the way, nobody buys me.
You're actually more woke than the DEI. DEI doesn't go far enough. Yeah. Russell, we got some business to take care of before we continue the segment.
We do.
Here you go. So he's actually positioning himself to the left of Bill Ackman, right? Because restorative justice is actually a more substantive term than DEI. Sure. But did this have something to do with that $1 million? Let's find out.
I'm the only member of Congress who takes no PAC money, corporate or otherwise, no lobbyist money, no money from members of Congress, and I don't have a leadership PAC. That makes me the only one out of 535 people that doesn't play that nauseating game. Nobody buys.
But you have a super PAC. Ackman donated to your super PAC. So I don't know what that blizzard of bullshit was, but you clearly have a super PAC. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten the $1 million.
Yeah, how do you give it to you, in a back alley?
Yeah, no. According to the Times, he wired $1 million to the super PAC. That's on the record. So I don't know what that was all about. All right, let's keep going.
By people that doesn't play that nauseating game. Nobody buys me. If a donor came to me and told me to do something, I will tell the donor to go pound sand. That's the truth. But here's what we have to do.
Well, I have to mention, I do want to interrupt you on that, because I think you're mentioning Bill Ackman obviously has insinuated that he has done that very thing to you, which I think is maybe what you were speaking to there.
He hasn't insinuated. He's basically, he's insinuated that he's influenced you. It's public knowledge he gave you this money. So now she brings up the tweet.
Learning from so many people over the last 2 months about a lot of things I wasn't aware of. Mr. Ackman is one of them, one of thousands of people that have shared perspective. He has not asked me, told me, informed me to do anything at all. But I want to make it really clear.
That's what the $1 million is for. Every politician plays this game. They get a big donation, and they're like, no, they didn't ask me to change their position. As if a donation is not a tacit request, or even if he didn't make a request, even if Bill Ackman didn't bring it up, you don't think that it occurred to this guy, hey, we just got $1 million donation that's now a high-profile donation from a guy who is now famous for his crusade against DEI. Perhaps we should take the words DEI off of our website. Does anybody honestly believe that was not the calculation on his campaign's part? They just happened to change the heading right after they got $1 million donation from Bill Ackman?
That money was not to change my position. In all honesty, Bill Ackman is a big fan of a film you might have seen with Robert Redford called Indecent Proposal. That $1 million was for my wife.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like taking a KFC ad off of your website the day after you get a donation from Popeyes. You know what I mean? Like, and no, they didn't ask me to do it.
I mean, it is funny. He's trying to have it both ways. You know, he changed the title, but he didn't change the text.
Right.
Like I don't understand what the fuck he's doing. I honestly don't, because this candidacy is not going to go anywhere. I can't. You never know with the ego of these politicians, but he can't imagine that he's going to make a meaningful impact on the race. So why burn the people who are going to give you the board seats after you get out of office? I really don't understand what's happening here with him.
Yeah, because he's retiring from Congress.
Right. What are you doing?
So he's not going to be a politician anymore.
You're supposed to go make sure Boeing can fly unsafe planes. You get a nice board seat. And you just vote for lobbying money. What are you doing? What is this guy doing? I don't get it.
I think this guy has fuck you money. I think he's pretty wealthy.
Is that what it is?
I think that's what it is.
He doesn't need them?
I don't think he needs them.
Let me get to the point. We are litigating slogans instead of talking about solutions. And I've got a plan.
Is he lying,
I want to close.
Because he said he did.
He's not lying. No, I'll tell you who's lying in the media. This is a false portrayal of the truth. But Brianna, let me.
He tweeted it. Let me pull up the. Yeah. Congressman, in fairness,
Brianna,
let me pull up the tweet. He put
fake
this up.
Media.
He said it in his tweet that you were getting educated as we speak. That's not the media. That's Bill Ackman himself, or sorry, an X. I don't know. He's putting it out there himself. That's not the media, Congressman. That's Bill Ackman.
You know, Brianna, what a shame that if the media is portraying being educated as a problem. I listen to everybody. That's my whole point right here. Let me explain this whole thing. I am being educated, but I'll tell you the most important education I've received is how the black community has been suffering because of the long tail of slavery.
All right, blah, blah. Yeah, he already said that. Yeah, that's what she's saying, that it's bad to be educated. It's bad to be educated. I mean, just the gaslighting of that is horrible. And
educated with the eye clamps in the movie theater and the eye drops.
Yeah.
They educated him all right.
It's also horrible to be taking money from fucking Bill Ackman and making any change. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he should have just kept it up. And if he's got a problem, he's got a problem. You're not going to be in the race past a few more weeks anyway. So, like, well, what the hell are you doing? And this conduct by Bill Ackman is just horrible. And it's horribly embarrassing. Dean Phillips is a Jewish man. I'm a Jewish man. Russell's a Jewish man. Bill Ackman's a Jewish man. We're all Jews here. We can all speak freely about this. It really...
And we gave Bill Ackman a piece of our mind at the last meeting.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, talk about perpetuating a stereotype of dual loyalty and that there is this cabal of Jews who will crush you if you cross them. The guy just, throwing his money around to cancel people who cross him. It's just horrible. It's just a horrible conduct. Very, very embarrassing as a Jewish man myself. And Dean Phillips is a Jewish man himself. And I am going to be in New Hampshire this weekend. I am going to be going to a Dean Phillips event. And
well, if you're going to New Hampshire, Ixnay on the June.
Yeah, well, they'll be fine. No, if I get a chance to talk to him, I'll put it exactly like that.
Like the whitest state outside of Maine.
Yeah, I'll be okay. Don't worry. I'll be bundled up. It's gonna be freezing cold.
Yeah,
so
they won't see the nose.
They won't be able to tell. They won't see the nose or the ears. It'll all be
they won't see the horns.
Maybe I should mask up so they don't see my nose.
Yeah,
that might be a good idea. They can't tell I'm in disguise. But yeah, no. Look. I'm assuming these are gonna be town hall events. I would like to voice that because I think it's extremely unbecoming, and just it's extremely vulgar. And it's really disappointing that he's taking this money, that he is having anything to do with this guy.
Yeah. You look at Ackman, he's the biggest argument for a communist revolution this side of Morning Joe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, like I debate our friends on that side of the spectrum, but I've said that many times. I get where they're coming from. Like, yeah, the way they see it, only that kind of revolution will get rid of people like that. Otherwise, people like this always wind up having inordinate power in society. Now, I have my disagreements with them for other reasons, but that basic premise, yeah, sure. How do you get rid of people like this? This guy should be walking around with power? Of course he should. But how do you take it away without completely overturning the entire system?
Right.
Because if you leave them intact, they're still going to exert that power in the system.
Yes. If you leave the system intact, eventually capital will swallow it. Right.
Right.
All right. Let's take some super chats and a couple Rumble rants, and then we will move right along. Hobbs45, thanks for the $11. I'm a big fan of the Super Bowl. I hate the NFL and never watch football, but I like the American tradition of having a Super Bowl. Yes, Super Bowl is fun. I think Super Bowl Sunday is the 11th this year, but thanks for that, Hobbs. Eric Rousseau is a member for 5 months. Joy Ann Ray looks like a black gender Kyle Kalinske with that do. Did she join the same cult as Kyle?
Well,
they say that
Bohemian
what? Grove, you have to get yellow hair, right? That's what Jimmy was saying.
As many have pointed out, it's pretty funny for a race hustler to decide to get blonde hair. That is a very strange choice for somebody that is talking that shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a Bohemian Grove thing. Jimmy said that
Maybe
they make you dye your hair blonde.
Maybe.
J.A. Savage, thanks for the $4.99. If you're going to continue to use my Jimmy Dore super chats on yesterday's show as headlines, at least give me credit. Kidding, love you guys. Are you? Yeah, you're talking about the Clare Daly thing, right? I think you're talking about Clare Daly. Did you super chat about Clare Daly yesterday or Monday? I remember your name came up.
I remember somebody did.
Yeah, I think that was you because I remember your name came up. Christo says, yo, are you guys really live? Or are you messing with me? No, we're really live. We do a morning show. So for those of you who are new to the channel, we typically did a morning show every Friday because we have a lot of dissident viewers from across the pond. And so we wanted to give them a chance to catch a live stream since our evening shows are on in the wee hours of the morning there. So because now looks like we have this kind of on again, off again gig at the Jimmy Dore Show, we're going to move these, all of our weekday streams Tuesday, Thursday, instead of Wednesday, Friday.
I mean, we have that gig for now. Tomorrow, I'm planning on bringing in Dr. Hotez to give me a booster on air.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That might be the end of that
after
gig.
Stella Assange.
Yeah, after Stella, yeah.
I mean, we figure like if Russell gets asked back, we would only have to change the schedule again. So rather than keep having to switch it into this week, is this we'll just kind of, we'll be on Tuesday, Thursday. This way we'll never have to change it on you guys because you want to maintain a consistent schedule as much as possible for sure. Pickle the Pirate, thanks for the $10. Spent several days reading user comments on New York Times, WAPO, Guardian, and compared to their readers, those outlets are downright peaceniks. What a bunch of rabid, warmongering lunatics. Terrifying. I've never invested enough time in any of those outlets to actually read the comment sections. I take articles from there, but I haven't spent time on their message boards. So I wouldn't know, but I believe you.
Something that you do have to remember, especially being in the space we're in, there are comments that are directly about us. Yeah, you have to remember very often it's the craziest people who are going to comment. Like it doesn't necessarily reflect the broad mass of people. It reflects that select group that would comment.
Right. Noah, thanks for the $2. Why talk 70% of the time about electoral politics? Well, we don't.
We don't.
No.
We don't.
We cover it when it's happening,
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I think we do it well, so that's why we do
it.
But
that's not at all accurate.
J.A. Savage, Piers Morgan admitted Israel has gone too far. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, really?
That's nice to him.
That's good of him.
Beautiful. Hristos says, I was about to go to sleep. Now I made coffee. Yeah. Gotta stay up. Hristos, thank you for being here, though.
Hang on,
you.
You're about to go to sleep. No. I mean, that's a Greek name, no? Isn't it?
Yeah, but what is it? It's not that late in Greece.
Yeah, it would be
it,
the
3,
afternoon
4 o'clock?
there.
Yeah. Time for a midday nap. What do they call it? They call it a siesta,
Hang on, is it the afternoon? What am I going?
Yeah,
it would be the afternoon
in New York,
yeah.
so it'd be like 3 o'clock in Greece. Maybe it's just early in the morning and you were going to go back to sleep. Maybe you were asleep.
Or maybe he's not in Greece. They don't.
I was going to say, maybe you're on the West Coast.
It's not like if you're Greek, they make you stay there.
Exactly. Maybe you're on the West Coast. Maybe it's 6 in the morning, and maybe you got a phone alert that we were live, and it woke you up, and you were like, I'm going to go back to sleep. And then you check the alert and say, oh, they're live. I got to watch.
Maybe he's on the grounds looking at me right now.
He's outside right behind you. Nocturnal Human, thanks for the $1. Like for the Al Gore rhythm. Thank you very much for that. Warren 22 says just what the world needs. And for Bill Ackman, you said send him to the tunnels. I can't read the second part, I don't think. But you did say this part. Keaton's right. In prep school, the old money made fun of people like Ackman, the nouveau riche. Yeah, well, yeah, indeed.
Yep,
indeed.
True.
Alrighty, let's move on here, folks. So, now that Donald Trump is the official prohibitive frontrunner for the nomination, I have a feeling pretty soon he will be called the presumptive nominee. Maybe not officially, but that's the way he'll be treated after New Hampshire would be my guess. But now that, for all intents and purposes, the primary is 85% in the rearview mirror, the Lincoln Project put out this ad called God Made a Dictator. So this is on their Twitter. And so we're going to play this ad.
Really crazy.
Yeah, we're going to play this ad, and then we're going to play a supercut done on X of Morning Joe's response to this ad. Beautiful work there from friends of show at the Lincoln Project.
I would like to know who that speech is.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. All right, bear with me, folks. I have to do this for 1 second because in case YouTube gives me a problem with that music, I'm going to have to just summarize the ad. So the Lincoln Project put out an ad called God Made a Dictator where they juxtaposed Trump's face with, pictures of Hitler and Kim Jong-un, and it's the same thing that you've heard over and over again. And then Morning Joe gave their response. All right, go ahead. I just had to do that in case we have to cut it in. But go ahead. See, we have to make the sausage on the air because of YouTube. You never know what the fuck they're going to complain about. They've been a bitch about that lately. They gave me a problem with the Matt Orfalea because he has music in his ad, but it's a political ad that's been on YouTube forever. What? I didn't know. But anyway, go ahead.
Like that kind of a speech, obviously that kind of rhetoric, that's around the 40s, 50s. After World War II, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of, speechifying about dictatorship and fascism. So I would place that somewhere in the early to mid 50s. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
If anybody knows, I'd be curious.
Well, you know who that did not sit well with is the Morning Joe panel. So here's Joe and Mika with resident Nepo baby at MSNBC, Donnie Deutsch, who gets called a branding expert. He really inherited a branding company from his father, and then he sold it a few years after he inherited it for less than it was worth when he inherited it. So why this guy is called a branding expert, I don't know, but that's capitalism for you. So here's the Morning Joe.
Donnie Douche is another example of he is a living, breathing argument against capitalism.
Yeah.
Exactly. What kind of system would elevate this person to a position to opine on the affairs of the day? That is a failed system by definition.
All right, so here's a supercut. I don't know who did this. I'll look it up and I'll link to it after we're done. But this is a supercut reaction of Morning Joe and Donnie Deutsch to that Lincoln Project ad.
Are not of Hitler, are not of Saddam Hussein. The most powerful images are of the hypocrites surrounding him, praying that this guy's a savior. The image of Donald Trump as Jesus Christ being hung on the cross.
Yes, the images of Trump are ominous and important.
Do you think they both have butt plugs in or just one of them?
But it does paint the darkness of putting him side by side of other dictators. Adolf Hitler, Saddam Hussein, you can go on and on. And that's where we have to put him. People truly don't understand what absolute power for Donald Trump will mean. It's not a stretch. You could end up in jail. That's what dictators do. They take their political opponents.
I don't think I'll end up in jail. Maybe you'll end up in jail. You know, maybe your friends over on Wall Street might end up in jail.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
some
don't think they're
high-ranking
watching
Democrats.
us.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't do nothing. I love Donald Trump.
Maybe
I'm gonna be just fine.
maybe the CEO of Boeing will finally go to jail.
Yeah, maybe.
Put them in jail. We will no longer have a vote.
He's already tried it once. I mean, he called me a murderer and was saying I should be thrown in jail.
Oh no, he's got the butt plug. You can tell by the way he's sitting.
Well, because Morning Joe, he said
he's leaning back into it, I think.
He called Morning Joe a dictator. He called Morning Joe a criminal because of the intern. Morning Joe, I guess, had an intern die, which, you know,
I see.
Joe didn't do any, you know, there didn't seem to be much evidence of wrongdoing on Joe's part, but we don't even have that problem. Jake, right here, our producer, alive and well. Jake, you want to turn on your microphone and give us a proof of life?
See, you caught it right here with this freeze frame. People tend to think that the BDSM dynamic is him dominating her. No. That is dominatrix face if I've ever seen one. Look. That's a very knowing smile about what she's got going on down there.
I just wanted Jake to give us a proof of life. Just say something.
Yeah,
just tell the audience you're here and you're okay.
I'm okay.
You're okay. Good. All right. Thanks. So so we don't have that problem. So he's not going to
Feeding
call
me
us
breadcrumbs.
a
Send help.
Thank you, Jake. Round of applause for Jake. So we're in the clear on that too. So I mean, maybe that's a problem for Joe. It's not a problem for us.
Saying I should be thrown in jail for murder.
And, you know, when people say it's a stretch to put him next to Adolf Hitler or next to Mussolini, says who? What do we know he's capable of doing
rational people.
as an absolute leader in power? And I will tell everybody who's thinking twice, if you want to vote more than one more time, you need to vote for Joe Biden because your vote will not matter anymore. You give that up. We will no longer be a free society. We take that for granted. We are not catastrophizing. The darkness is that dark.
We have to crush MAGA extremism forever.
Oh, try me, bitch.
and look at all these guys with their fucking $2,000 eyeglass frames. Yeah, this is who needs to be going on the air talking about the state of the country.
Well, look, I mean, the Lincoln Project played, you know, an old piece of audio. If we had more time, maybe we could have dug this up if I thought of this earlier. Another good piece of audio to play in response to that would be the famous For Freedom speech that FDR gave. I think that was 1942, could have been 1941.
Well, Donnie Douche made it very clear in the last election how he felt about that. He said he was going to vote for Donald Trump if Bernie Sanders were the president.
Of course.
If he were the nominee, rather. If Bernie Sanders got nominated, he said he'd vote for Trump, and Joe talked him down.
Right. Even with all this darkness at stake. Right?
All this darkness.
There's nothing darker than losing your money if you are Donnie Deutsch. There's nothing darker than having to pay more taxes if you're Donnie Deutsch. So he was more than willing to put up with the threat of all of that totalitarian darkness, because there's nothing that scares these people more than the fascism and authoritarianism of having to pay more taxes so that, you know, they could have, I don't know, housing in New York City so that he doesn't have to step over homeless person after homeless person on the way to 30 Rock. That's a very dark future in his mind. But the For Freedom speech that FDR gave sums it up very, very well, and I would love for somebody to get to maybe recite that on the air at MSNBC, since they gave the airtime to the Lincoln Project. The thrust of that speech is that people do not invest in democracy for its own sake. They will only invest in democracy if it can be proven to them that democracy is investing in them.
Right.
So if you want people to invest in democracy, if you want people to care enough to protect democracy, democracy has to deliver things like medicine, like housing, like food security. You have a situation where medical debt is the #1 cause of bankruptcy, where, you know, Vanguard, BlackRock are allowed to buy up all of the homes. Wages don't even come close to keeping up with inflation. Guess what? If those are the results that democracy produces, people aren't going to give a shit about democracy anymore. You guys do, because you're fucking rich. Whatever this system is, and I argue you really can't even call it democracy in practice, but you want to call it that for sake of argument. It's done right by you, which is why you are very protective of it. You're very protective of it. But you represent a very small minority, pardon me, of the overall population, which is why democracy, quote unquote, your version of it, is very likely to lose in 2024.
Right. Well, it's an oligarchy, and they are oligarchs.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they like the system.
Right.
It's I was talking about this. This was one of the very cool things about traveling in Italy, because going to those three main cities, Rome, Florence, and Venice, I also got an education in the history of their governments during the peak of their power and cultural output. And Venice, I said, that sounds like us. You know, they had only the leading citizens had democracy. They voted for each other. They voted among themselves. That's pretty much what we have. That's why they like it. Right? Because it's just they're working out who the leader is among themselves. I can't remember who said it. This was, I think it was 2016. It was during the 2016 election. Somebody gave up the game and said, there are about 500 people who decide who the nominee is going to be.
Right. Right.
So why would they not like the system?
Right.
When they talk about it's going to end, they talk about that 500 people aren't going to be able to decide the nominee anymore. That is what Donald Trump represents to them, because that 500 people does not want him. And the people know that. That is the basis of his support. What is really amazing when you watch Morning Joe is that they don't understand that they're not the resistance to Donald Trump. They're the advertisement for Donald Trump. You could not promote Donald Trump better than they do on Morning Joe by setting themselves up as his foil. Oh, these are the people in opposition to Donald Trump. Where do I sign?
Exactly.
Where do I sign up for Donald Trump?
These are the people who are afraid that he's going to crack down on them. Don't threaten me with a good time. Where do I sign up? Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. All right, folks, we'll take a couple of super chats here. Thanks to the $4.99. F heard earlier through Telegram that the Al Jazeera chief whose entire family, I think, was killed in downtown Gaza. Have you guys heard anything? Through Telegram, well, you said that the Al Jazeera chief whose entire family, you're saying he was killed or no? I mean, I've heard, you know, I don't know if you're talking about Wael al-Dado. I don't think he's the chief, but I haven't heard what you're referencing, I don't think, but I'll certainly look into that as soon as we're done. Good morning. Make me laugh with my 10 minutes of hate. Thanks. Thank you, Lorian Bright Bill. Folks, we are here this morning. We had some new Patreon signups this week, and so we thank everybody for signing up. If you would like to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/Do Dissidents. Perks of membership include your name up in lights here on the show credits. You also get call-in access to our weekly Q&As, as well as 2 patron exclusive live streams per month. We are going to get both of those in this month. We promise. We're just a little behind, obviously, because we've been doing 6 shows a week here for the past couple weeks, but we will be scheduling both of those very shortly for January. We are going to move our Q&A next week to the Tuesday night show, because this Sunday, folks, we will not be live streaming this Sunday. This Sunday, as well as this Saturday, we will be premiering my travel videos from the state of New Hampshire. So I'm doing on-the-ground primary coverage this weekend, and I will have videos to premiere. Those will not be live, but they will be premieres, so you guys can watch them together as a group with the chat, as always. Those will be Saturday and Sunday night, so no live stream this Sunday, but we do have plenty of content that we're excited to bring you guys over the weekend. And join our X account, too. Follow us there, because I'm likely going to be tweeting out short snippets throughout the day, and then we're going to have a full piece to present each evening. But our patrons are part of what makes those trips possible. We obviously want to thank everyone who contributed to our fundraisers. That makes this trip possible as well. But Patreon supporters, Substack subscribers, and Locals members are the backbone of the show. So you can go to patreon.com/Do Dissidents, dodissidents.substack.com, or dodissidents.locals.com to become a member. If you're watching on Rumble right now, which we are almost at 666 on Rumble, according to my device here, we're at 660. So hit that like button, get us over 666 on Rumble. You can join the Locals by clicking the join button right underneath the video screen. Thank you guys all very much for your support. John in Minnesota, Phillips' mom remarried well. He's heir to the Phillips Spirits fortune. He's worth over $90 million. Oh, okay. There you go.
So yeah, he has lots of fuck you money.
He's got fuck you money. I never heard of the Phillips Spirits. What are Phillips Spirits? What do they make? Gin?
Don't know.
Vodka? I never heard of Phillips Spirits.
Ghosts?
Yeah, yeah, ghosts. Pat Donahue, I love Clare Daly. I met her once at an event. She's very consistent in her anti-imperialism, including on the British and they're holding the north of Ireland. Great work on JDS2, lads. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much. And Clare Daly is actually coming up next. Quintessential.
Now that would be a great guest.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Indeed. Travel plans, great communist destination, Kerala. Thank you, Quintessential. Lincoln Project Ghouls, says Cool Blue, are Democrats. Team Blue deserves them. Makes voting Republican and for Trump much easier and much more appealing. Indeed, Cool Blue. Thank you very much. Okay. Speaking of Clare Daly, that is our next segment. So, folks, this video clip went viral for great reason. In the aftermath of the ICJ case, Clare Daly had some words for Israel and for the United States, in particular, Butcher Biden, as she named him. This is something to heat up your morning. It is freezing here on the East Coast, but we'll spray some fire all over your morning here. Let's go to Clare Daly.
The catastrophic death toll it has inflicted, Israel is losing on the ground and in the court of public opinion. There's no way that this ends that doesn't leave Israel a pariah state with occupation and apartheid on borrowed time, and they know it. So they're doing everything they can. Desperate acts of aggression to provoke a wider conflict with Lebanon, with Iran, with anybody, to draw in the US, to save them from the consequences of their own actions. And as Yemen shows, Butcher Biden is reporting for duty. With Europe's Frau genocide by his side, they are the ones who have enabled the continuation of Israeli terror. Without them, it would already be over. So take note, Butcher Biden. The ancestors of the Ireland that you claim to be from disown you. Keep our country out of your mouth. And as for von der Leyen and genocidal Germany, with your words and deeds supporting Israel in the ICJ, not in our name. The people of Europe stand with Palestine and with South Africa.
Wow. Your ancestors disown you. Yeah, Biden makes a lot of his Irish ancestry.
He does.
So to be called out in that way is pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. And, you know, we are, for some reason, top 100 news and politics podcasts in Ireland. For some reason, the algorithm blasted us out to our Irish friends more than most other Europeans over there. And we love to have you. But we've heard this a lot from our listeners.
Because they're the most dissident Europeans.
Yeah, indeed. That's probably true. That's probably right. Makes sense in that way. But we've heard this from a lot of viewers of ours. Patrick Donahue, we just read a super chat of yours right before we did this segment. We've heard from a lot of our Irish viewers how offended they are by Biden's support for what's going on in Gaza right now, especially given the fact that he touts his Irish roots as often as he does. And so good to see that called out. And then the other point she made there that I thought,
you know what they call the Irish Americans?
What's that?
Plastic patties.
Oh, yeah. Is that what? So there you go.
Well, you know, I used to drive a horse and carriage, and it was like a 19th century job with a 19th century cast of characters. Like the different avenues of the carriage lines were dominated by different ethnicities. So 6th Avenue was Irish, and 7th Avenue was Italian, and 5th Avenue was a free zone of everybody. So I spent a lot of time hanging out and talking to the Irich guys. They would talk about how much they hated Riverdance because it was for plastic patties.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
It's Irish American crap. Bunch of plastic patties.
Bunch of plastic patties. We're at 670 on Rumble now, it seems. So. The other point that she makes there that I think is really worthwhile and notable is she calls out Germany, who, in their guilt over having committed a genocide against the Jews, is now defending a genocide by the Jewish state against another oppressed population. And they have not been called out enough for this because they have been very pro-Israel for pretty obvious reasons. But the fact that they participated in the Israeli defense at the ICJ trial is worthy of its own condemnation because they are trying to atone for one sin by committing a grave sin of their own in real time. So just an absolute truth bomb from Clare Daly, one of many of hers.
Yeah, there is something about the accent too. I mean, we should just any time, anywhere in the world, somebody needs to be called out. We should get an Irish person.
Yeah,
you know, the soup's too cold. Grab an Irish person. This soup is not all it should be.
All it should.
You know, there's just a moral authority that comes with that accent, probably from the hundreds of years of oppression and colonization.
Yeah, and it's that same history that led her to make those points there. So, job well done, of course.
No, you know what? Actually, I hear from Irish people I used to work with driving a horse and carriage thanking me for the position we've taken on the show.
Oh, wow, interesting. So It's not just the Due Dissidents audience. It's your old Irish friends and colleagues from back in the day.
Yeah, who like they've seen the posts from Due Dissidents.
Right.
And they've been thanking me for taking that position. So yeah, I mean, of course, you're talking about people who know a thing or two about being colonized and oppressed by a powerful neighbor. Who do you think they're going to sympathize with?
Yeah, indeed. Wilbur, thanks for the €10. Hi, team. At this rate, you could do a subscription package with JD and keep up the good work. I'm from France, but we share the same sinking boat. Well, thank you, Wilbur. See, that's what I said. I said we would like to give our Euro dissidents a chance to watch live. So there you are from France at a decent hour. Thank you for that. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Roy Anthony says, name change, Michael Rap Apartheid. That's a good one. I like that.
See, we have the best people. The Nikki Haley names were, all of them were funny.
Right. Yeah, indeed. Dave Diller, for $12 on Rumble, you should grab the sound drop, fucking fascist from the Big Lebowski. You would have been able to use it so many times recently. It's a good idea. In fact, I will.
That's not bad.
It's a beverage here. Fucking fascist. No, the beverage here is when he gets thrown in the car. The fucking fascist is when he gets thrown out of the police precinct, right? When he's caught driving around and they bring him in. Yeah, that would be a good one, actually. Good call on that. We will add that for sure. Blarg, thanks for the $20. Upcoming series I hope you run with, A Daily Dose of Clarity, featuring Clare Daly. That's clever. Mick Wallace, or a limited few who speak truth on the world stage, South Africa and others. Much love. Thank you, Blarg. That's
we should
clever.
try to get her as a guest.
Yeah, we should. What's the guy's name who's like her
There's got to be.
There?
She's an MP, right?
Yeah. You guys know what I'm
so
talking about in the chat.
There's got to be like a way to contact her office.
Well, there's a guy who she travels with a lot, who she appears in interviews with a lot. And let me know in the chat. You guys know who I'm talking about. He's got the big white hair with the beard. No doubt our chat knows who I'm talking about. I know who he is too. It's just his name escapes me at the moment. But anyway, here's a related story. Clare Daly says Europe is with Palestine. It seems like the whole world is starting to become with Palestine. From Time Magazine, new polling shows how much global support Israel has lost.
Anti-Semites.
Yeah, exactly. New data shared with Time from the business intelligence company Morning Consult shows that support for Israel around the world has dropped significantly since the war in Gaza began. Net favorability, the percentage of people viewing Israel positively after subtracting the percentage viewing it negatively, dropped globally by an average of 18.5 percentage points from between September and December, decreasing in 42 out of the 43 countries polled. China, South Africa, Brazil, and several other countries in Latin America all went from viewing Israel positively to negatively, and many rich countries that already had net negative views of Israel, including Japan, South Korea, and the UK, saw steep declines. Net favorability in Japan went from minus 39.9 to minus 62. Look at this jump. Wow. In South Korea, from minus 5.5 to minus 47.8. Wow. And in the UK, from minus 17.1 to minus 29.8. Quote, the data shows just how tough of a road Israel has right now in the international community, says Sonnet Frisbee, deputy head of political intelligence at Morning Consult. The U.S. remains the only rich country that still had net positive views of Israel. Net favorability dropped just 2.2 percentage points from a net favorability of 18.2 to a net favorability of 16 from September to December. Are we the baddies? Are we the baddies? Washington's support for Israel carries a cost in global public opinion, however, particularly in Arab countries, the surveys show. In Egypt, the U.S. went from having a positive favorability of 41.1 to a negative favorability of minus 14.9. It's about a 55% swing from September to December. In Saudi Arabia, the U.S. saw a similar trend, dropping from a positive favorability of 12.2 to negative 10.5 over the same time period. I want to just add a quick piece of information about this poll. Yeah, are we the baddies? Morning Consult paywalled this poll. So, like, when you went to click on it, it was not available. Apparently, a membership to Morning Consult to get access to all their polls is $1,200 a year.
You're fucking
No, $100 a month you have to pay to get access to their polls. And obviously, in principle, we would never dream of doing that. But I was actually really curious to look into these numbers.
So no one's going to do that other than professional news gathering organizations.
Right. NBC is going to pay for that access. ABC, right. No, you schmucks like us are going to pay for that access, since they very rarely put out a poll of interest, right? It's not like you're getting content every day. And even if you were, I mean, it's just an insane amount of money. They do that so that the media buys into their polls. But a lot of their polls are not paywalled. Like when they do a presidential poll, you know, you can click on that and you can download the PDF and you can really do a deep dive into the numbers, which I'd have loved to do here. But apparently they don't want the average person to have access to that information either.
They don't want you doing your own research.
No, they don't want you doing your own research on the support in polling collapse for Israel, apparently. So that's one of the ones that, well, in Time Magazine, one of the only outlets that had even a small write-up on that. But that certainly consistent with Clare Daly's little monologue there. About the lack of support, just the implosion of support for Israel and for the U.S. on the world stage. I mean, a 55% drop in Egypt, 42% drop in South Korea from -5 to -47. I mean, just incredible.
Well, and this implies to me, when you look at the contradiction between that and the United States, Caitlin Johnston always says the Americans are the most propagandized people on earth. I think that's probably a reflection of that, because here you have all of these news organizations desperately even now, trying to frame this all in terms of anti-Semitism and the rise of anti-Semitism. In these other countries, they're probably just not framing it like that. They're just showing the atrocities.
Right. Exactly. I think that has a lot to do with it, for sure. All right, we'll take a couple more super chats here. Let's go to a Rumble rant from Dave Dillerai. Thank you for the $5. Yeah, but the darkness believes in a thing called love, though. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Let's go here. Excuse me. Cablo. Thanks for the $9.99. Appreciate that. Derek P., the soldiers are paid to fight, the rebels aren't. What does that tell you? They can win. Godfather 2. Good one. Yep. Good one. Good quote. Okay. We're going to move right along. We're going to do some Davos coverage, folks. We did a little Davos coverage on the Jimmy Dore show. I'm assuming we'll do more Davos coverage tomorrow. There's already some stuff that I want to get into. But here's a piece of footage from Davos that has made quite the amount of noise online for, unless I'm crazy, are all the wrong reasons. So here is Javier Milei, newly elected president of Argentina. Here's the crux of his speech at Davos.
To leave a message for all business people here and for those who are not here in person but are following from around the world. Do not be intimidated either by the political class or by parasites who live off the state. Do not surrender to a political class that only wants to stay in power and retain its privileges. You are social benefactors. You're heroes. You're the creators of the most extraordinary period of prosperity we've ever seen. Let no one tell you that your ambition is immoral. If you make money, it's because you offer a better product at a better price, thereby contributing to general well-being.
Yeah, there's
Do
no
not
such thing as
surrender
regulatory
to
capture.
the advance of the state. The state is not the solution. The state is the problem itself. You are the true protagonists of this story. And rest assured that as from today, Argentina is your staunch, unconditional ally. Thank you very much, and long live freedom. Damn it.
Yeah. Damn it. Okay, so he addressed that speech to the business people in attendance at Davos and some who were not in attendance at Davos. Now, I did you, my beloved audience, the favor of watching the entire speech. It was about 25 minutes because I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. I wanted to make sure that the context was right. And the speech was a completely boilerplate 25-minute defense of capitalism and libertarianism. And he is literally telling the people in that audience. Right, somebody had to do it. Well, I had to because I didn't want to miss something. You know, you don't want to have someone spring a clip on you. Oh, I didn't see that, which changes the context and the meaning. No, there was none of that. Just a 25-minute defense of capitalism to the Davos crowd. And he addresses that speech to the businessmen in the Davos audience. You are social benefactors, heroes, and protagonists who should never have to apologize for the wealth that you create. Somehow, this was interpreted by a lot of incel right-wing media as a thumb in the eye to Davos. So here's some tweets. Many people were surprised that Javier Milei would attend the World Economic Forum in Davos. I guess they didn't realize he was going to use the socialists' stage to tell them that socialism sucks right to their face.
Okay, I am sorry. How fucking moronic do you have to be to think that the people at Davos who create a scandal with their use of private planes for like fucking 10-mile plane rides every time they have one of these are socialists? How dumb do you have to be to accept that framing? These are the same people who think Elon Musk is a man of the people. The same Elon butt boys are the ones who think Milei is a hero. It's the same fucking people. None of these people would piss on you if you were on fire. Get it through your head.
Do you hear
Elon
any
doesn't
rhetoric?
give a shit about you. Milei doesn't give a shit about you. None of these people give a fucking shit about you.
Do you hear any rhetoric at Davos about worker empowerment, about
Of course
worker
not.
control? In what universe are they socialists? See, to a lot of right-wingers, any authoritarianism, they just brand as socialism.
They brand it as socialism.
Because they cannot accept that capitalism can be authoritarian as well. They just can't go there.
Look, you do have people who are coded as right. I want that qualification because we just don't even know what these terms mean anymore because so much of their argument are things we would traditionally have heard from the left. Like it's like the 60s counterculture kind of arguments about corporatism and conspiracy among elites. But you hear that more from people coded right now. But hey, man, I mean, a lot of them do understand it. They get it. You have this global elite that is using their power and position to tell the peasants how they're going to live going forward. And in my opinion, It's not it's like an aristocracy in any age. They generally don't see themselves as harmful and predatory. They see themselves as enlightened and enlightenment. They are entitled to tell the peasants what is best for them. That's what's going on at Davos. It's the furthest thing from socialism you can get. It's an attempt to manage capitalism according to what they think is best for the lower orders.
That's exactly what it is. It's the benevolent oligarchs' attempt to manage capitalism.
Right.
But to a lot of conservatives, as we'll see as these tweets go on here, President of Argentina, Javier Milei, stuns room of globalists at the World Economic Forum into silence after exposing them to their faces for destroying the West. Exposing them, he called them social benefactors, heroes, and protagonists to their faces. He's basically calling them the John Galt. He's making the Ayn Rand argument. You are
the
total
Ayn Rand thing.
Yeah,
Ayn Rand
what are you talking
written
about?
Milei
What
as a
world are you
character.
living in where he is up there challenging them and sticking his thumb in their eye? It's
Right.
absolute nonsense, because what you describe, Russell, is absolutely right. But where the conservatives just have a total psychological break from reality is that none of the things that you described, which is, you know, the management of the economy where elites determine what the peasants should and should not have access to, conservatives cannot implicate capitalism in that. They have to call that something else. Because
Yes.
once you admit
Yes.
that can exist under capitalism,
Right.
then this knee-jerk, defense of capitalism and knee-jerk negative reaction to socialism, you can't have that anymore. So any type of top-down control over the economic system must be branded as socialist, even if the people doing it are billionaires flying in on private jets who have practiced capitalism their entire lives. Okay?
Yeah,
Colin
he
Rugg.
said. He said.
Hold on, let me
he
just get
said
through these real quick because this is almost done. New president of Argentina, Javier Milei, demolishes socialism in front of a bunch of socialists at the World Economic Forum. Javier Milei showing up to the World Economic Forum to preach against socialism, government tyranny, and the globalist cabal. Oh, yeah. Badass. Argentina's new president, Javier Milei, called out the WEF to their faces. I'm sorry, what world are you living in? What world are you living in? What are you watching?
Yeah, because he stood up in front of billionaires and told them to act with more impunity.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. You know, he said a couple things that were dubious about efforts to secure equal rights for women. Ooh, and you were talking about this a little bit when we got into equity DEI on Jimmy's show yesterday. Yeah, if they didn't have woke, they'd have to invent it, right? Because if you attack these woke precepts, all of a sudden it's perceived as an attack on elites, right? And it's it's completely beside the point. Like, yes, these elites tend to represent those ideas, but it's just a smokescreen. Okay, so sure. I guess, I mean, for me personally, I speak out a lot about that smokescreen, but I speak out against the smokescreen because I want to talk about what's under it, and what's under it is these people and their fucking privileges. That's not going to go away if you get rid of woke. It'll just get rid of the illusion of what they are.
Exactly.
And then what are you going to be confronting? Not socialism.
Right.
Capitalism. Exactly. That's what you'll be confronting in its raw, obvious form.
Exactly. So listen, man, I have seen a lot of bizarre cults of personality on the internet. Nothing like this fucking guy. Like, I don't understand what this guy can do to convince you that he is not who you think he is. The guy, as soon as he gets elected, he promises dollarization, support for Ukraine, support for Israel. He comes to Washington. He yucks it up with Biden's cabinet. He has lunch with Bill Clinton in Manhattan. Now he goes to Davos and says to their face, you are the heroes, protagonists, and social benefactors. And this guy is anti-establishment? He is the leader that the United States installs when the socialist wins the election. Right? He is the kind of guy who we would overthrow a socialist government and put in their place as a puppet of the U.S. And this guy is who they're insisting went to Davos and showed them up. Just bizarre. Really bizarre.
He basically went up and did the "Who is John Galt" speech.
Yes, exactly. And who's in the audience? John Galt. That's what Davos is. It's a meeting of John Galts. And now, yes, like what Russell was saying earlier, they are not naked in their plan to dominate, right? They do what's the book? Winner Take All. That book called Winner Take All.
Non-Jordan Hardis.
Exactly. Yeah. He put out a book about how these very, very wealthy people, oftentimes through rituals like the Davos Summit, will gather and they will convince. Yeah, Aspen Institute. Exactly. They will gather at these places in order to convince themselves, each other, and the world through the media that goes there that their empowerment is for the betterment of humanity as a whole. We do well by doing good.
Yep.
Right? Or we do good by doing well.
Right.
So that's what they're there to do.
I mean, it's just a variation on trickle-down economics, right? Rising tide lifts all boats. It's very Ayn Rand.
Yes.
The more we accrue, the better society is through our inventions and our efforts. You know, they just I cannot recommend Winner Take All enough. For people who really want to understand how these people at Davos are thinking. Because if what you believe, look, generally, when you think people are motivated by villainy, there are a lot of subtleties you're missing because there are very few people who are really comfortable with the idea that they're the baddies.
Right.
Not a lot of people go through, there are some. But I mean, stone cold sociopaths. But there are not a lot of.
How do we fuck people today?
No, there aren't a lot of people who really are comfortable living that way or seeing themselves that way. Usually, people have a moral justification. They see themselves as the good guy in their own story. These people at Davos, they're not sitting there going, "Ooh, how do we get at the people?" That's not what it is. It's that they see themselves as morally enlightened.
Right.
And all of these initiatives are the way that they justify their own position, right? Just like any aristocracy, right? They need some version of the divine right of kings to justify their position to themselves, and this is how they do it. They get together at Davos and come up with initiatives.
Yes, and they do advocate for a certain centralized top-down control of the world economic system. But top-down control of economic systems is not unique to communism or socialism. That can exist under capitalism, and it fucking does. If it didn't, there wouldn't be a Davos, right? And that's what, a lot of these guys who, just one after the other. I wasn't going to make an exhibit slide of this, but they just kept coming. Like half of my Twitter posts were about how this guy went and stuck it to Davos. I'm like, what the hell are you watching? So I felt we needed to give a certain counterpoint to that.
Yeah, you look at a lot of this stuff, and it is just amazing how misguided and misled a lot of people are about who these figures are and what they represent.
Yeah, indeed. Wild Rose. Oops, sorry. What did I do there? Sorry, Jake. I almost ruined your Rumble rant. Wild Rose 1, thanks for the $5. My attention may be divided since I'm at work, but my dedication to dissidence is not. I appreciate you. Thank you, Wild Rose.
Thank
you. We appreciate you. Warren 22, thanks for the buck. Capitalism distorts and corrupts natural selection. Thank you, Warren. Let's go to some super chats. Folks, we have one more segment to do here on YouTube, but the show is not close to over. We have 2 segments that we are going to do on the Rumble side, so get ready to make that switch.
Yeah, come over. I did my super cut of my adventures in L.A., including my adventures with the Scientologists on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yes, that and segment X coming up on Rumble in just a little while. Gavin Hillock, thanks for the €5. The Irish Parliament was also suspended yesterday for the government refusing to even hold a discussion about the genocide, their EU DC stooges. Wow, we got to cover that.
Wow.
We got to look that up. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow on the Jimmy Dore Show. Folks, it's going to be a little while before there's another live stream on this channel because this weekend I will be in New Hampshire. So now that we have a bigger crowd in here, I'll announce this one more time. We will have content for you guys throughout the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I'm putting out my sort of travel logs from the New Hampshire primary coverage, but those won't be live stream. Those will be premieres, so you guys can come and watch and chat. I don't know what time they'll be yet because it depends on when I get back to the hotel and when I can get them edited. But you will get the alert on YouTube, and I will drop an email newsletter announcement on Substack. So join our Substack, even if you got to join for free, because I'll be posting, an hour in advance. Hey, heads up, premiere in 1 hour, the New Hampshire primary coverage. Ron Gu, thank you for the €10. Namibia called out Germany for supporting Israel at the ICJ while forgetting they committed the first genocide of the 20th century in Namibia. The GS and formerly colonized people are not taking it. Thank you, Rod.
Good.
To hear them, Biden and Dems talk about democracy and freedom of speech at the same time while blowing up children and imprisoning journalists on live TV is just sarcastic poetry for the ages. Yes, Skyzar. Thank you. Good point.
I mean, really, if I can find the time, I want to do a recut of that Lincoln Project video featuring Joe Biden. The IRS going to Matt Taibbi's house.
That would be very good, actually. Yeah.
Them, praising him. Oh, it's like Joe Biden's arms are reaching out to the nation. I think that
torturing
that would
Julian Assange, Gonzalo Lira.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's plenty of
you
stuff.
Could definitely do a recut of that.
Around
indeed. Joe Biden.
Pete, my app doesn't do super chat, but wanted to add ethnic cleansing. Yeah, that's good too. I like that. Love your work, guys. Where in New Hampshire are you heading first since Milford is out, Keaton? Thank you, Pete. Well, what do I got? There is a Nikki Haley event in Keene, which actually works out because it's closer to me than Milford. So I think Keene, New Hampshire is my first stop. Then down to Nashua for the Dean Phillips Town Hall, and then up to Manchester for the Trump rally. So that's my first event. 3 events, one after the other, mapped out pretty well. And then I'm hoping to get at least 2 in on Sunday as well. It sucks that Vivek is out because I was really looking forward to going to that one. But Nikki Haley, that'll be fun too. Jules Elizard, 88. Hey, from Dissidents Denmark, watching from the office, wink, wink. How to contact you about translating your Substack articles to Danish? Well, you can send us an email. Cool. You send us an email to dissidents@gmail.com. Yeah, rock on. Chirpy, thanks for the $4.99. My friend thinks Trump is a plant for people that are anti-establishment to make us look like crazy Trumpers. What do you guys think? What do you mean, that Trump is a plant?
That he's a plant? No.
I don't think so.
I mean, what they do, Trump aside, we did a story about the German farmers' protest yesterday on Jimmy Dore, and we're using a Reuters article. And all of these articles frame it as, yes, and right-wing elements are getting empowered by this movement. The truckers, any kind of populist thing, they'll frame it as right. It doesn't. You don't need Trump. In other countries, they do the same thing. You're right wing if you're anti-establishment.
They did it to the yellow vests. I mean, that's really where it started.
Right.
Yeah, that was 2018. All right, we'll take a couple more super chats here. F, thanks for the $4.99. Thank you for watching the Davos bubble in its entirety. Perhaps on a subconscious level, you might be self-hating. J-O-O. Thank you, Keaton and Russell. Thank you. We'll do more Davos stuff on the Jimmy Show tomorrow for sure. There's already some stuff that I know is going to be good to cover. We had to save some of it because, like we said, we're trying to mix it up. We don't want to do the same stuff here that we do over there. J.A. Savage, we wanted flying cars. Instead, we got 140 characters. Peter Thiel. Thank you. Let's see here. Read Sohrab Ahmari's Tyranny, Inc. Empowered private equity and capitalism without guardrails becomes an unadulterated evil. I will read that.
Sounds like a good read.
Sounds like a good one. Anosaurus. Thank you for that. Okay, beautiful. All right, one more segment here on the YouTube show, and then we will be switching over to Rumble. Volodymyr Zelensky was at Davos, and the New York Times did a write-up here. Zelensky calls for peace, not more weapons in Davos. So Zelensky came and made the world an offer, and we'll see what that offer is in just a moment. With fighting still raging in Ukraine and a front line that has barely shifted in more than a year, the country's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, headed on Tuesday to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, amid a swirl of diplomatic discussions about possible peace talks. Mr. Zelensky, dressed in olive green pants and a black crew neck sweater, was greeted with applause when he walked on stage in a room packed with hundreds of people at the forum, a high-profile gathering of business and financial elites. In other words, socialists. In his speech, he promoted a Ukrainian peace plan and called for stiffer sanctions on Russia. But in contrast with his comments to the forum last year, Mr. Zelensky made no direct appeals for weaponry for new offensives on the battlefield. We need you in Ukraine to build, to reconstruct, to restore our lives, he told the audience of investors. Each of you can be more successful with Ukraine.
I promise you, whole country is 75% off. You can stuff your capitalist pockets with even more filthy lucre.
Much better than Gaza. Yeah.
Much better money to be made in Gaza. And we are white.
And we are white.
We look like you.
Mr. Zelensky highlighted his country's plan to end the war, an initiative called the Peace Formula, which has gained the backing of dozens of countries, but those countries do not include Russia, and Moscow has rejected its terms. Russia has signaled through informal envoys that President Vladimir Putin is now open to ceasefire talks, but Ukrainian officials have said that they will reject any temporary truce that comes separate from a broader settlement, lest Russia merely use the pause to regroup and attack again.
We covered this the other day. They're attacking.
Right.
They are attacking now.
No, but he's saying that Ukraine is not going to accept a peace deal that leaves them vulnerable to further attack.
No, I understand, but it's not like right now they're not attacking. They are attacking. Like they don't need a pause to attack. They're attacking.
Well, look, Ukraine
Currently,
never had a chance to make the kind of deal that they wanted. That wasn't going to happen before the war. It wasn't going to happen once the war started. Certainly not going to happen now that they essentially lost. But we'll get to the terms that this guy thinks he's going to get, which is just unbelievable. Russia, Mr. Zelensky said, has become an agent of chaos in world affairs, sowing instability in African nations, in Syria, and in Ukraine through military interventions that attempts at negotiations have failed to slow. A ceasefire in the long-running war in eastern Ukraine did not stop the full-scale invasion in 2022, he said. I don't believe Putin is capable of changing. Only humans can do that, Mr. Zelensky said. Spicy from Volodymyr Zelensky there. On Monday, Switzerland...
Big words from an actor.
Yeah, exactly. Big words, indeed. Switzerland agreed to push the Ukraine plan a step forward. Switzerland will host a summit of countries backing the peace formula later this year, the country's president, Viola Amherd, said after a meeting with Mr. Zelensky. Now, here's the peace plan. The plan calls for a full Russian withdrawal from all Ukrainian territory, including Crimea, payment of reparations, and prosecution of war crimes. All of those demands are considered by analysts and even politicians backing the proposal to be unreachable given the current balance of forces on the battlefield. Yeah, no shit. The proposal also includes intermediary steps such as securing Ukrainian nuclear sites, ensuring grain exports, and exchanging prisoners of war. Okay, Crimea, that's all you have to say.
Okay,
He's not
listen, I know you won war, but can you pretend you lost?
Exactly, that's what he's saying. I know you win. Can we make like you lose? Right? Who's the guy on Seinfeld, the guy with the tennis racket who asks Jerry, my girlfriend, she thinks I'm not a man. My wife says I'm not a man. Can you let me beat you at tennis? That's what Zelensky's there for, right? Like, yeah, you lost. Now you're going to ask for terms as if you won.
Right.
Crimea, that's it right there. You could have stopped right there. There is absolutely no way on earth Putin is giving that up. That was one of the original 3 terms that he laid out before the invasion took place. You had a chance to agree to those, and you could have saved your people 500,000 lives. You could have saved yourself this horrible, tragic explosion of violence. The 3 terms were neutral Ukraine, independence for those eastern regions, and recognition of Crimea as Russian. So what makes you think Putin's going to give that up to you now after he won the war? Like, just complete and total insanity.
Well, yeah, it's delusional. It's delusional. Well, this is somebody who was never qualified for his job in the first place, that the Western media, as they love to do, pumped up as some kind of Ubermensch. The brave and courageous leader of Ukraine. He's a fucking actor who got stuck into a position that he was never qualified to hold. And that's why he was so easy for Western powers to manipulate.
Exactly.
A smart, strong leader would have seen, oh, they're just going to use my country to benefit their arms manufacturers. Fuck Boris Johnson. I need to sit down and come to terms with my actual neighbor, Russia, especially given that the West has a long history of losing interest in countries like mine that they prop up as soon as they get distracted by some other conflagration, or they see a better opportunity, or their people start to get tired of it, which is exactly where he is now. So, yeah, he on the one hand, he realizes he's fucked and he has to make peace. And on the other hand, it's the stages of death, right? Anger, denial, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. He's just not there yet of accepting he lost the war and he's going to have to settle it on Russian terms.
Exactly. All
right now he's at bargaining.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All he had to do was take that deal, a neutral Ukraine. That works out for Ukraine because there was no danger of Putin taking Ukraine. The reason he wanted Ukraine to be neutral is because he didn't want NATO on his border. So if Putin swallowed Ukraine, now all of a sudden NATO's on his border. He wanted a neutral zone between the Russian border and NATO. And so the deal was right there for you to sign. And like you said, he is just an idiot who got duped into believing that A, he could win, and that B, the West would have his back in either circumstance. And as you can see now, cut to 2 years later, they're recruiting 55-year-olds for the front lines, throwing them into a meat grinder. Hundreds of thousands dead, hundreds of thousands injured, a complete nightmare. And now he comes to Davos thinking that he's going to rally the world behind a peace plan that participates in his delusion that you won the war? You didn't win the war. You're not getting the kind of deal as if you won the war. Now you're going to have to make a much tougher deal than you could have had you avoided this war in the first place, which is what obviously should have been done.
Well, he's going to wind up having to make the same deal, only with a completely decimated population left to try to rebuild the country.
Yeah, indeed. Sam, thanks for the $4.99. Top-down control is not material, but for whom that control supports is what matters. Does it support the owners of capital or the workers? Well, yes, that's a very important question, obviously. Good point. Folks, we are taking some super chats, and then we are moving the party over to the Rumble side of the fence. So dudissidents.com/Rumble will take you there. So get ready to make that switch, everybody. We are heading over pretty soon. P. Walker, thanks for the $20. These Malay bots are just like the Obama bots, AOC fanboys, and MAGA fanatics of today. They bend over backwards to distort reality. They need to preserve their fragile belief systems and to avoid admitting they were duped. Yes, that's a very good way to put it. With Malay, though, it's especially weird because he just burst onto the scene out of nowhere. Like Trump's been around a while. Yeah, he's established a cult following. So has AOC, so has Obama. This guy, nobody fucking heard of this guy until 3 months ago, and all of a sudden he's got this army of online people who just insist that he's the second coming. Yeah,
they're just certain figures they just latch onto.
Right, and there's nothing you can tell them about them that'll make them change their mind.
He's another one.
Yeah, another one. Yep, indeed. Pat Donahue, thanks for the $10. Keaton, the brother in Kentucky, has started to DoorDash. Seems a tough gig, so there's not much money at busy periods as you wait longer for food in busy periods. Any advice to pass on to him? You have to learn your area. I mean, it is a tough gig in certain parts of the country where the towns are smaller and there aren't as many restaurants. Like, my advice would be find a place with a lot of restaurants. Even if you have to drive 10 to 20 miles to get out of your zone, find a zone that's busy or that's close, because the thing about DoorDash is it's not like Uber. You actually get a decent amount of dollars per mile. So even if you have to drive 20 miles to work, it'll still pay for itself if you drive to a busier area. So that would be my guess. Although here in this area, it has been slower than it's been when I first moved here in a year. And I think that's partly inflation getting to people. I mean, it's fucking expensive, as Russell learned. I mean, it's not as expensive here as it is there in L.A., because of the gas, but it's expensive, yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, if Jimmy has been very kind when he's been in town about taking me out to dinner. But otherwise, I'm cooking up some pasta, man. I ain't fucking paying that. Fuck that shit, man. Like on principle. Even money consideration aside, on principle, $48 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
That's
Burger,
insane.
Fries, milkshake,
That's insane.
Delivery fees, yeah.
I was talking to Tusker. She said in Arkansas, only rich people have food delivered. Like it's just not even something the average person does.
Yeah, it's a luxury in a lot of places. Yeah. But that would be my advice. Find a busy zone. If you're not in a busy zone, you need a place with a lot of different restaurants and stuff. Excuse me. Blarg, thanks for the $10. Would love to see you have Garland Nixon or Richard Medhurst on. Yeah, I'd love to have both of those guys on. That would be great. Thank you. Corey Weichman. 5'5". I thought Russ was 3'4" with no legs. Anyway, congrats on all the success. Thank you, Corey.
5'5.5". Damn it! I want to be able to ride the Cyclone.
Yeah, exactly. That's our line. We're sticking to that. Make Ukraine Russia again, says Sparky. Thank you, Sparky. Hobbs 45. Doesn't wearing a green shirt give you a military rank?
Yeah, he thinks so.
Thank you for that generous donation, my friend. Appreciate that. Okay, we got a Rumble rant. And Janus, capitalism is only authoritarian. Look at the top-down corporate structure. Nothing remotely democratic or socialist about it at all. Capitalist control corporate. Thank you. And Janus, Sparky, don't even leave a patch named Ukraine, lest it remain a NATO playground, carpetbagger, money laundry becomes a BlackRock property. Well, like I said, that's not that wasn't what Putin wanted at the beginning. He wants a neutral zone. He doesn't want Ukraine on his border. That was part of the whole rationale. Sam 199. You were thinking of Milos, yes, the tennis shop owner. Yes, Milos. That's right. That's a good one. Sparky, like Vivek, Malay talks a lot of trash, but talk is cheap.
Yeah.
Indeed.
It is very similar.
Yes, indeed. Okay, we got a Rumble rant from Nocturnal Human. Jake, is that up on the copy and paste yet or no? Let me delete that from Ann Janice. Looks like we are good over here. Sparky, ramen is your friend. Yes, indeed. Indeed. I have a case of ramen too. Now it's up. Nocturnal Human, Malay fans, Miladies. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. You guys got the jokes today. Folks, we're going to leave, excuse me, God. We're going to leave YouTube now. We got plenty of show left over on Rumble. We have segment X and Russ's LA travels. Russ takes LA coming up. DoDissidents.com/Rumble. That'll get you there. Jake, that redirect link is working, right? Just so you know, so that's updated to the new stream. Okay, Jake says yes. We're going to trust him. Jake's our man. Jake's the man. Jake says go.
If he can't do it, no one can.
It's a go. DoDissidents.com/Rumble. That takes you to our Rumble live stream where we will continue the program. We will be back on YouTube Saturday night for a premiere of day one of my New Hampshire primary coverage. That'll be the next thing on this channel that premieres for you guys. We'll have another one on Sunday, another one on Monday, and then we will be live again here Tuesday night at 9 p.m., which is the New Hampshire primary night. So we will have live results plus a full show for you guys then. Catch us on the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. But catch us in 5 minutes.
We will have Stella Assange on.
Stella Assange tomorrow on the Jimmy Dore Show. Super excited about that. That's going to be a great time. So make sure you join us then. But join us in 5 minutes. We're going to take a 5-minute intermission after the conclusion of the YouTube stream, and we will continue the party over on Rumble. We will see you there. Until we see you again in 5 minutes, be safe and be well.
Whoops.
Right?
Courage. Still a little bit of kung fu bad dubbing there.
Not too bad, though. All right, folks. We'll see you in 5 minutes.
Please clap.